The galaxy is filled with incredible creatures, but few of them can make you feel scared or amazed as the monstrous beings in Star Wars. Across planets and in deep space, these huge creatures have scared main characters and amazed audiences with how big they are. In this video, we will be focusing on the biggest Star Wars creatures, moving from the smaller threats to the most gigantic of them all. You will see that there's a lot of really big monsters. So let's start with number 10, the Krayt Dragon. First, let's take a look at the Krayt Dragon. He's a huge, dangerous animal that lives on Tatooine. It was first seen in Star Wars A New Hope. Because it is so big and deadly, the Krayt Dragon is one of the most dangerous animals in the world. Its body is more than 50 feet long and snake-like. It has strong claws and teeth and can tear through any food. It's hard to hurt because its skin is thick and scaled. Another link between Tatooine and the Krayt Dragon is the Tusken Raiders. They see it as a sign of power. Why are people so scared? Because it is so big and strong and can destroy almost anything. It is one of the most dangerous species in the world. The Krayt Dragon is a real animal that represents the harsh power of the desert and the risks that live in Tatooine. The approximate length of this creature is 55 feet and it weighs about 3,000 pounds. There hasn't been any recorded size of its wingspan. Number 9, the Sando Aqua monster. Next on the list is the fearsome Sando Aqua monster, first seen in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. This huge animal lives in Naboo and roams the deep lakes and pools. The Sando Aqua monster was built to get into battle, a big strong body and sharp claws that can crush anything in its way. Not only is it a big fish, but it's also a dangerous hunter that can kill any foe with quick, strong moves. When the pod races happen in The Phantom Menace, the Sando Aqua monster is a big threat. As Anakin Skywalker races across the seas, he has to avoid the creature's attacks. This shows that even the best pod racers can get hurt by the unpredictable dangers in their surroundings. The approximate length of the Sando Aqua monster is 75 feet, has a wingspan of 100 feet, and weighs 5,000 pounds. Number 8, the Sarlac. Up next is the Sarlac. You may remember it from Return of the Jedi. It is hidden in Cara Dune's Great Pit. This scary species isn't like other monsters. It has a big mouth and tentacle-like arms that let it eat whole things. The Sarlac waits calmly in the sands of Tatooine for people who are ready to be eaten. This weapon is used by Jabba the Hutt to kill people in Return of the Jedi. Its big mouth lets it catch prey and slowly break it down over thousands of years. This lets it live an unbearably long time. This turns the Sarlac into a symbol of how crazy Jabba is and how dangerous Tatooine is. In Star Wars, the Sarlac is one of the most feared animals. The fact it can lock up and torture its prey for a long time makes it even scarier. The approximate length of the Sarlac is 100 feet and it weighs around 4,500 pounds with a reach span of 90 feet, but there hasn't been any recorded sizes of their wingspan. Number 7, the Zillow Beast. The old Zillow Beast from Star Wars The Clone Wars is here. It's almost impossible to hunt. It lived on Coruscant, the galaxy's main planet, and was one of the scariest things anyone had ever seen. When people saw the Zillow Beast, they were scared because it had plates on its skin and sharp claws, making it look like a huge monster. A big event in the Clone Wars was the Zillow Beast's anger toward Coruscant. It brought down whole buildings and hurt a lot of people. Since the thing was very tough, the Republic would have a hard time killing it. Since the Zillow Beast can't be hurt, it stands for the power of wild animals that haven't been tamed. The approximate length of the Zillow Beast is 100 feet, has a wingspan of 200 feet, and weighs 15,000 pounds. Number 6, the Rancor. Now let's look at Return of the Jedi's scariest animal, the Rancor. In Jabba the Hutt's house, this huge animal stood for power and fear. Everyone the Rancor met was scared of it. It stood more than 16 feet tall and had fur that felt like leather. Its teeth were very sharp and broken. This movie is one of the best because of how crazy and dangerous it was, even though it wasn't the biggest monster in the world. The Rancor is a key character in Return of the Jedi because it shows how powerful Jabba is and is also a crucial killer. It looked like the end for the Jedi was almost certain when Luke Skywalker was thrown into the pit. What Luke did, though, was quick and creative, and it turned things around. This animal is one of the best in the world because it is so important in Star Wars mythology. The approximate length of this creature is 102 feet and weighs 1,000 pounds with a wingspan of 104 feet. Number 5, the Awa. Then we have to live in the seas of planet Sorgon, where you can see them in The Mandalorian. This kind of gentle giant can grow up to 60 meters long. They are really cool to see in the water. They are known for being calm, even though they are very heavy. This makes them very important to the Earth's environment. These very smart animals don't hurt anything when they move or interact with their surroundings. This is why they support peace over fighting. The Awa stands out in Star Wars because it doesn't look scary even though it's big. Awa use their great strength to keep their worlds in natural order. Other species species, on the other hand, use their strength to get stronger. Because of this strange trait, the Awa are called mild giants. Some species don't use their power to rule here. The approximate length of the Awa is 200 feet and weighs 30,000 pounds. There hasn't been any recorded size of its wingspan. Number 4. The Mythosaur. At the top of the list is Mythosaur, a creature that is both a symbol of power and a key piece of Mandalorian culture. This huge monster has been in Star Wars stories for a very long time. Its big size, strong jaw, and scary horns show what kind of monster it is. The galaxy's history has a lot to do with how it serves as a sign of power for the Mandalorians. Lots of people all over the galaxy think the Mythosaur is a very cool animal. People used to think it was the best proof of their military theory. The Mandalorians care about the Mythosaur for more reasons than just how strong it is. It's also a big part of their culture. In the Mandalorian series, when the Beast comes back, it brings back the stories about the Mandalorian people. This brings them back to their famous past. The Mandalorians have a past of being hostile, and it shows how strong their warriors were and how their legacy lives on. The Mythosaur is the biggest and most important dinosaur in Star Wars. It stands for strength, fear, and respect. The approximate length of the Mythosaur is 400 feet, weighs 100,000 pounds, and has a wingspan of 100 feet. Number 3. The Leviathan. In Star Wars: The Old Republic, the Leviathan is one of the most powerful monsters in the world. Because it's so big and scary, it makes whole ships look small. It looks like an old sea monster. Any force that gets in its way is crushed as it moves through space like a scary snake. People know that the Leviathan is one of the most dangerous species in space because it can destroy ships so quickly. It's very strong because it can destroy whole ships and leave only chaos behind. The part Leviathan plays in Star Wars mythology is interesting. It's a natural force and a sign of damage that won't go away. Since it's in the sky, anyone who gets too close to it is always at risk. Being able to crush things with its sheer strength proves that this monster really does exist in the world of Star Wars. The approximate length of the Leviathan is 450 feet and weighs 80,000 pounds. There hasn't been any recorded size of this giant's wingspan. Number 2. The Space Slug. We saw the awful Space Slug for the first time in The Empire Strikes Back when it almost ate the Millennium Falcon. Since rocks are all around the planet Hoth, this huge animal roams the area. It looks like a rock in the middle of nothing, and with that, it's still not really dangerous. From the outside, it seems innocent, but it's a terrible predator with huge tentacle-like arms ready to catch ships that aren't paying attention and a huge mouth. The Space Slug is a big part of The Empire Strikes Back because Han Solo and his team fly into its huge mouth by chance on their way out of the Empire. It's a real killer in the dark, ready to strike when no one is around. It is very sneaky and hides in plain sight. The approximate length of the Space Slug is 500 feet and weighs 50,000 pounds. There hasn't been any recorded size of the slug's wingspan. Number 1. It's an old sea species that was first seen in the time of the High Republic. This very strange creature is thought to be older than many of the world's biggest cultures. You should be afraid of this being because it is very strong. A lot of people say that it was about the size of the moon. In its home world, it lives in the deep seas, have rough, scaled skin, and very sharp, jagged teeth, which make people very afraid of them. Its scary looks match how dangerous it is. Many years ago, it came from somewhere else in the galaxy. This makes the history of the galaxy during the High Republic more difficult in Star Wars mythology. It reminds us that there were big, scary monsters in space before the Sith and the Jedi came along. These are some of the scariest monsters in Star Wars. They are huge and old. The approximate length was 1,000 feet and weighs 50,000 pounds. Sadly, there hasn't been any recorded size of its wingspan. And there you have it, Star Wars' largest and most awe-inspiring creatures. If you enjoyed discovering these monstrous creatures, give us a like and subscribe for more Star Wars content. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.